children back. Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back. I'm excited to be back with you. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and that things are going well for you as you gear up to continue homeschooling with your beautiful babies. Couple things before we get started in this topic, which I'm very excited to talk about today. I've got strong opinions about it. But I want to tell you first. So I did something. Little bit of background of why I did it. I started putting the podcast on YouTube and not just on the major podcast platforms, but I started on YouTube a couple months ago, and I'm still uploading some of the initial episodes, which were recorded, just audio tracks recorded and no video. So that's still taking me a little bit of time to get those up. But after we went to Mexico at the beginning of December as a family, and we had been planning for this trip, and while we were on this tour bus in Mexico, we met this this couple. They were originally from New York, and then they had transplanted to California, and she was retired, but he was getting close to retirement, and they just grilled me and the kids about homeschooling, and it was very comical and very humorous. And honestly, like, I try not to get defensive, but I got a little defensive, and then I wiped the guy's face clean with my comebacks, and I was very proud of myself. And my husband was like, what a tool. The guy was, oh my gosh, and he's like, I wasn't trying to offend you. I just had questions. And I'm like, right. And my husband's like, no, you didn't just have questions. You were being rude. Anyway, but my kids were really funny. Like, one of the things that he said was like, oh, aren't you worried, that your kids aren't going to learn about philosophy and all these philosophers? And I'm like, they don't learn philosophy in public school. Like, you do realize that, don't you? Like, unless they were to take a class, which I don't know very many high schools that are teaching philosophy. And my son was like, actually, I've been studying Marcus Aurelius and meditations and the works of Epictetus and the Stoic philosophy. I've been reading Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, and he just made this man look like a buffoon. And he was kind of quizzing my kids. And I even asked the guy, I'm like, can you tell me the slope-intercept formula? And he's like, what? And I'm like, wait, what? Public school didn't work for you? You should know the slope-intercept formula. Oh, wait, you don't need it. So you don't. Anyway, it was a very comical discussion for an hour and a half. So this week, I was thinking about that and all of the stupid things that people say to homeschoolers, which I have to say, I thought the same stupid garbage before we started homeschooling. So I decided I was going to make a little YouTube video. And I did. And so I thought of it. I called my sister and a friend who homeschools and like ran the idea past them. And we were all just dying laughing. I was crying and I was like, I'm going to do it. So I got home. I dusted off my wigs, and you're probably like, why do you have wigs? Well, little secret that I don't like to tell people, because then they have high expectations of me. And I'd rather people have lower expectations of me. Lower the expectations, my friends. From the time I was 14 to my mid to late 20s, I did comedy. I did sketch comedy. I did improv. I did a little bit of stand-up, although stand-up's not my favorite. I love watching stand-up comedians, but improv, sketch, those are really my wheelhouse. And I love playing characters, but I haven't done it for many years. Like, I was in my 30s, I was joined an improv troupe here in Colorado Springs, and I was in that for a couple years, but and I was the oldest person in it, honestly. But I haven't done comedy for a very long time. And so, but I have wigs. So I dusted off my wigs and came up with some characters, and in an hour and a half recorded this video. And then the next day, that was on Wednesday, Thursday, my 16-year-old and I sat down for like 3 hours and edited it. And I'm like, holy cow, he's so good at editing. I'm so glad that I gave him time to develop his editing skills, which he loves. I mean, he loves editing. He loves Premiere Pro. And so we edited it, and I released it. Oh, I was so nervous. I wanted to puke when I released it, but I put it out there. So if you want to see it, I'll include the link to it. But my friends, I had so much fun doing it that I want to release more. So I'm going to be working on some shorts and some sketches. My kids were helping me come up with ideas, and we were all laughing. And several friends were calling and saying, "Oh my gosh, you should do this too! It would be so funny." And so we've got all sorts of different ideas of things that I'm going to be doing over the next. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it forever. Maybe I'll just do it for a short time. And I also recorded a video just talking while I was putting on my makeup, so I might release that one too, because my son's like, "That's kind of funny. You should share that," because it was just me talking about my experience in the public school system and why homeschooling is better. And so, anyway, so I'm gonna start releasing some shorts and some videos. Whew, but it was scary putting myself out there. I don't remember being so scared as a 14-year-old to do stuff. As a 46, almost 47-year-old, I was like, so, but I did put myself out there. I did get a couple hater comments that were kind of amusing on Instagram. But anyway, it felt so fun to do that again. So I will put the link to that if you want to watch it. Leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Anyway, so it was kind of fun. So look for those. And then the newsletter. My friends, I've been working on trying to get this newsletter out for months, like figuring out like how do you do a newsletter system and how do you do all the technical stuff. But I am almost done. So before the month is out, we will have the newsletter up and officially going. So I'm very excited about that as well, because like I said, I want to give you tools to be successful in your homeschooling. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay, couple stories to kick off the subject today, because it's a very important subject that I think gets overlooked often. But a couple stories. So I got a funny message this week. Oh, it wasn't funny. I mean, I get these messages pretty regularly. I got several actually this last week, but one of the messages on Facebook was from a friend of mine who I met because my husband went to high school with her, and so anyway, we've become friends. And I don't see her, I see her every few years, but she reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about homeschooling my daughter. She was in public school. She's in ninth grade. I pulled her out to do online school, and she's slowly deteriorating and doing worse and worse and worse. And they just give her busy work, and it's mindless, brainless work. But I'm really nervous to homeschool. Like, what if I can't do it? What if I fail? What if, is it okay? Is it okay if I pull my daughter to homeschool?" And I had to chuckle, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You are a college professor." And legitimately, she is a college professor. I'm like, "You are absolutely capable of teaching your children." I said, "You wouldn't even need to be a college professor to teach your child. You don't. The fact that you are a college professor and nervous about it, and you're a professor in education, makes it even funnier to me." And she goes, "I guess I just needed permission from somebody to say it's okay." And I'm like, I'm pulling out my sword and I'm knighting you and telling you, yes, you have permission to homeschool your child. And she's like, "Yay." She's like, "Isn't that funny? I just feel like I needed permission." Anyway, we had a lovely discussion. So for those of you that are like, "I just want permission. I just need somebody to tell me it's okay for me to pull my kids. They're going to be okay. And it's okay for me to homeschool." Here is your permission. I give you permission to pull your kids and homeschool. Not that you need it, but if you want to hear it, there you go. I give you permission to homeschool your kids. Not that I have any authority, because I don't. But I'm telling you, as your friend, you can do it, and you'll do just fine. So the other thing she said, it was such a delightful conversation. I had a chuckle because she's brilliant, and she's a brilliant educator. She does things very differently than the traditional classroom, which is what's made her a successful educator. And she, I'm like, "You're going to do awesome with your daughter." So anyway, so she texted me the next day and she said, "My daughter is so excited." And so, but one of the things that I told her is, make sure you're that you let your daughter sleep. And my observation is kids that are coming out of the public school system will sleep a lot, and parents get very concerned about it. And I see it on Facebook often where they're like, my child needs, we started homeschooling and they just want to sleep all the time. And parents are like, you get them up and and I'm like, no, don't. I usually don't comment because I don't like getting in Facebook fights. And I just got in another Facebook fight last week about something else. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not getting in it. I've got a strong personality. I'm not going to get any more Facebook fights. I'm not going to do it. But I kept thinking to myself, no, these babies need sleep. They need sleep. So my other story, because I said there was two, was back this summer, I was talking to a friend, and she has a daughter who's a junior in high school, and she's public schooled, of which I've talked to her about homeschooling because she feels like, as she described the relationship with her daughter, I'm like, oh, your daughter is peer oriented instead of parent oriented. And you should really read the book Hold On to Your Kids by Gordon Neufeld, because he explains, he's a psychologist and his specialty is attachment psychology. Your daughter's peer oriented and it do you well to homeschool. Anyway, so she ended up this last year pulling her daughter from regular public school and put her in a different kind of public school within our district, which is fascinating. And it's actually a decent school. It's kind of a hybrid school. The kids mostly are at home and do online work, and then they go to class, a couple times a week. So it's a little bit hybrid, a hybrid online / in-person school. I would say less homeschooling-esque, because if you're on the computer all day long, that to me, that's more online schooling. People can disagree with me, but that's fine. I don't consider that homeschooling. Doing a few classes here and there, yes, but not 100%. So her daughter started going to this other school because it was more free and open, and they didn't, you could turn in all of your work by the end of the semester and it counted, and it was work at your own pace, and you could go to the classes, but you didn't have to. It just is a very free, free class. And the school is very good. It's working for a lot of kids. And I really like this school. So if people in my district are like, oh, I don't want to homeschool, I refuse to homeschool, what should I do? I'm like, well, send them to this school. That would probably be the next best thing. And sometimes it's, circumstances. It's better for them with their circumstances than homeschooling. So I asked her how it had gone for her daughter that year. And this is, again, this last summer. And she said, oh, it was terrible. All she wanted to do was sleep all day long, and she refused to do any work, and she failed all of the classes. She didn't want to do any of the work. And she refused to do any of the work. And so we're going to send her back to public school this coming year. We're going to the first public school that she was at. And I said, well, how'd she do in there? And she's like, oh no, she failed there. She failed there too. Not completely. She would get C's and some D's, an occasional A if she liked the class. But, and she goes, but the weird thing is, this summer she went to a humanitarian camp type thing, like where she went to Mexico and helped build an orphanage. And they told me that she was the first one up. She was the hardest worker. And when I asked her about her experience, she told me about how much she loved it and how excited she was every day to get up and work on this orphanage and work with these kids and help build a school and, all the things that they were working on. And it was like a 2 or 3 week program that they went to. And she said, I just don't get it. I don't get why, when she's home, that she just wants to sleep all the time. But when she's there, she could wake up at 6 a.m. But I'm lucky to be able to, this last year, I was lucky to be able to get her up by 10 or 11. And so I thought about that when she told me that, and I've thought a lot about it. And the more I hear parents say, oh, well, we started homeschooling, but all my child wants to do is sleep, I had this realization. This is very unscientific, but my belief is that these kids coming out of the public school system sleep a lot because they're tired and their souls want rest. They want rest. Their minds, their their spirits, their physical bodies, all of it is yearning uh, for this to fill this deprivation that they've experienced and get rest. And when we first started deschooling, remember we had to go back and deschool. And for those of you that are new to homeschooling, deschooling is the process that you go through to adjust to homeschooling from public schooling. And in many ways, you're unlearning things that have become very bad habits for a lot of us. But my belief is that the kids will sleep a lot during the deschooling process as their bodies shift and adjust. Because the mental rigor of public school is damaging to them. And you think about rigor. I mean, the root for rigor is other words with rigor, like rigor mortis, which is what happens when you die. So, and I've thought a lot about this because every time I talk to people who are in the process of deschooling, they always say the same thing: my kids sleep a lot. I should be concerned. I should wake them up. I should, and I say let them sleep. It's actually pretty normal when they start the deschooling process. The pattern that I've seen hundreds of times is that these kids will sleep a lot. Like they'll sleep a lot. And then at some point they stop sleeping so much and they start getting in a regular sleep cycle. So that's my unscientific opinion, is that and my personal opinion is during the deschooling process, let them sleep and let them sleep a lot. Let them sleep a lot. Their minds are trying to restore and rest. Which my son, I mentioned this before, is my 16-year-old has stowed away into the public school a couple times this year. And they've let him. Actually, no one's ever stopped him. But after going and coming home, he just wanted to sleep. And I would ask him, how was your day, or how was the class, or whatever he went to? And he's like, it's mentally taxing. It's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. He goes, I don't know how these kids do it, because there's no room for freedom. There's no room for mental clarity. There's no room for it. And so he'd get home the first day that he went, he got home like at 4:30 and he slept until 8:30. And then another day he went to this class, and he went to a calculus class with his friend. And he got home, he's like, I just want to sleep. He's like, it was exhausting just staring at the teacher, listening to them talk at me. And my mind is just tired. I just want to sleep. So I found that very fascinating, which is how I feel when I go to conferences and they're all day long. I yearn for sleep. I start to fall asleep in the afternoon, and I yearn for a break and mental, let me process and sleep. So anyway, now let's talk about some scientific research that's been done about kids and teenagers and sleep. Because again, I am an advocate for more sleep, not less sleep. So I did not know that. And as I was researching for this podcast, this came up. I did not know that during puberty, the circadian rhythm within us shifts. So listen, this is from UCLA Health. I'm just going to read this. And I'll include the links to everything that I'm referencing and the research that I did. I'll include the links so you can look it up yourselves as well. One change, this is quoting, one change in the body during puberty is closely related to how you sleep. There's a shift in the timing of your circadian rhythms. Before puberty, your body makes you sleepy around 8 or 9. And I would argue, unquote for a second, I would argue like at 46, man, 7 o'clock hits and I'm like, I'm so tired, I'm going to die. Anyway, but for kids, they're sleepy around 8 or 9. Like my 7-year-old is like, she loves her, like she's a quirky kid, but she loves her sleep. And so 8 o'clock hits and she's like, I need to go to sleep. My body is tired. And last night we were playing board games and it was super fun. And we had some other kids came over, and our 22-year-old was playing with us. And 8 o'clock, my 7-year-old's like, I'm tired. It didn't matter how exciting the game was. She's like, I'm tired. I need to go to sleep right now. So I went and tucked her in. So, so again, here it is. Before puberty, your body makes you sleepy around 8 or 9. I'm continuing to quote. When puberty begins, this rhythm shifts a couple hours later. Now your body tells you to go to sleep around 10 or 11 p.m. Isn't that interesting? Because we are like, teenagers just want to stay up late all the time. I didn't know that the circadian rhythm changes. So, of course, they want to stay up later. Of course, they do. Their body, their clocks inside have shifted thanks to puberty, which is a natural phenomenon, right? The natural shift in a teen circadian rhythm is called sleep phase delay. The need to sleep is delayed for about 2 hours. At first, teens may appear to be suffering from insomnia. They'll have a hard time falling asleep at the usual time. While they begin going to sleep later, they still need an average of 9 hours of sleep at night. Because most teens have to wake up early for school, it is important for them to go to bed on time. If they go to bed late, they'll be unable to get the sleep that they need. This change in teenager sleep patterns is a normal part of growing up. With some extra care, teens will quickly adjust to the new sleep schedule for their bodies. Unquote. Except in the United States, all over the world, teens need between 8 and 10 hours of sleep at night. But most polls show that 60% of the middle schoolers are sleep deprived, and 70% of high schoolers are sleep deprived. And this is coming from the Sleep Foundation. I also looked at the CDC website, said the same thing. It's same statistics. This is what they argue. Why is it hard for teens to get good sleep? Again, from the Sleep Foundation. There's not one specific reason for sleep insufficiency among teens. Instead, several factors contribute to this problem, and these factors may vary from teenager to teenager. Okay, it goes on and it says time demands. Many teenagers have a jam-packed weekly schedule. Yeah, here we are. We are overbooked. Our kids are overbooked. And I continue to quote, school assignments, work obligations, household chores, social life, community activities, and sports are just things that require their time and attention. I love how they say school assignments as opposed to going to school for 5 million hours a day and then having school assignments and then having, all the sports. With so much to try to fit into each day, many teens do not allocate sufficient time for sleep. They may stay up late during the week to finish their homework or during the weekend when hanging out with friends, both of which can reinforce their night hour schedule. And then it talks about use of electronic devices and all of the things. So how much sleep do kids actually need? School-age kids, ages 6 through 12, need 9 to 12 hours of sleep. Teens, ages 13 to 18, need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I argue, again, my unscientific argument is that if they're coming out of the public school system, they probably will want more than that for many months, or for at least a couple months at the beginning. But 8 to 10 hours of sleep is what they need to function. And then adults 18 and older need 7 hours of sleep. Okay, this is again from the Sleep Foundation. That sleep deprivation affects kids and teenagers emotionally, physically, and developmentally, academic achievement, decision making, and risk, and causes risky behavior. Okay, so and it's so funny because every article that I read said, what can we do about giving our kids more sleep and our teenagers more sleep? And the answers kept coming. petition your school district to have later start times. And I had to chuckle at that because my school district this last year decided, the school board decided they were going to push back the start time for schooling so that the kids could get more sleep. Except you'd think it was World War III in our school district because parents have to be to work, and people are like, I can't do this. I've got 4 kids or 3 kids or 2 kids or whatever. And one child's school is going to start at this time. The other one's going to start at this time. And then I'm driving for 2 hours. And so it became a major ordeal. And they finally decided to scrap it for the next couple years and continue with the, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45 start times, as opposed to starting at 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. They were just going to push it back like an hour. But it was, you thought it was World War III with the parents. They could not please anybody. And I chuckled because I'm like, this does not affect me because I let my kids wake up when they wake up. And usually my teenage daughter wakes up naturally at 7 a.m. She also tends to go to bed naturally a little bit earlier. Whereas my 16-year-old son, if he could, he would sleep till 9 or 10. Sometimes he does take a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays that starts at 7:45. So he will go to that class, and sometimes he'll come back and fall back asleep for an hour and then get up. And I let him. And I'm okay with that because I recognize that they do better. They do better for sleep. Sleep is necessary. They need it. Okay. So I thought this piece of information was also really fascinating for kids that are showing signs of ADHD. It says here, a lack of sleep can often be confused with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Some young people are thought to have ADHD when in reality, they're having a problem with their sleep. Both of these problems share many of the same signs. The most common signs of sleep problems that are shared by ADHD include the following: trouble concentrating, mood swings, hyperactivity, nervousness, aggressive behavior. I did not know those were all signs of a lack of sleep. And so we have a bunch of kids being diagnosed. Again, y'all know my opinions on this. I think that a lot of times these kids get diagnosed when they're little. These boys get diagnosed, especially when they're just behaving like natural little boys, and they just need to move, and they need to be out, and they need, their bodies need to be moving. But I think it's fascinating because most kids are sleep deprived, right? The research is there. The research is there. Okay, so the American Psychological Association talks about, let me pull this up here. Okay. The American Psychological Association says symptoms of stress. So there's also the cycle that happens with kids when they don't get enough sleep. Okay. So listen to this. This is from the American Psychological Association. Teens who sleep fewer than 8 hours on a school night are more likely to report experiencing symptoms of stress. 50% feel irritable or angry, feelings of nervousness or anxiety, 46%. Feeling depressed or sad, 43%. Feeling overwhelmed, 42%. Which a sleep deprivation causes stress. On the flip side, if a child is really, really stressed at school, it causes sleep deprivation. So here we have this really vicious cycle of these kids in the public school system where we have this, skyrocketing anxiety and skyrocketing depression, and sleep is one of those factors. They have all these pressures of school, which cause them to have poor sleep or not get enough sleep, and then they have to wake up early anyway, so they're sleep deprived perpetually. And then in turn, that sleep deprivation increases the stress, but they already feel stress at school, so they're not getting a good solid amount of sleep, and it becomes this vicious cycle. These poor kids, like, I feel sorry for these kids. Now, as homeschooling parents, we can do something about that. Number one, naturally, when we slow down our homeschooling days and don't have so many ridiculous expectations on our kids, like they put on in public school, and you have to be in school for 7 hours or 8 hours. You have to. When we take off some of that ridiculous, unnecessary stress, and then we allow them the opportunity to get what their body needs as far as sleep goes, guess what we have, my friends? We have happier, more fulfilled children, children with less anxiety, children with less emotional problems, children with less physical problems. Because sleep also, we need sleep to increase our immunity. It's important. So, these are some effects of teenagers with sleep deprivation. I want to go over this. The developing brain of a teenager, this is from the Better Health Channel. The developing brain of a teenager needs between 8 and 10 hours of sleep every night. The effects of chronic ongoing sleep deprivation, most of the public school kids, include the following: concentration difficulties, mentally drifting off in class, shortened attention span, memory impairment, poor decision making, lack of enthusiasm, moodiness and aggression, depression, risk-taking behavior, slower physical reflexes, clumsiness, which may result in physical injuries, reduced sporting performance, reduced academic performance, increased number of sick days from school because of tiredness, truancy. That is what sleep deprivation is causing our kids in our society. And we, as homeschool parents, can do something about it. Some of the things that we can do to help our children is, number one, let them sleep in, especially our teenagers. And I know some of you are passionately against this. No, they have to wake up early. Then help them make that shift with their circadian clock and give them the time and space to make that shift. Because at the beginning, especially at the beginning of puberty, as it said, the circadian clock gets pushed back 2 hours, thus meaning that they're going to have to wake up later because they need at least 8 hours of sleep. But they said most kids need about 9. They said between 8 and 10. Some kids may need more. And we need to allow them to do that. I would suggest, I talked to my teenage son. I said, he has a laptop, and that he bought himself. And we just got him an iPhone. He's almost 17. But with our older kids, we had gotten them smartphones younger. And that was the biggest parenting mistake I think we've ever made. With our current kids, like, he just got a smartphone. Both he, his sister, and then my 11-year-old have dumb phones, so that if I need to get a hold of them, I can, which all they do is call and text. You can't even text pictures. Like, you can call and you can text, and you can, and it has an alarm. That's it. That's all their phones could do. But I just allowed he's 16, almost 17-year-old to get a smartphone, but with parameters, because I said, you can't be on it all night, because again, that light, that affects sleep. With his computer, which he bought himself last year, that he does editing on, he also tries not to keep that in his room so that he gets better sleep. And that's something that he and I have talked about, because I'm like, his sleep is so important. And he agrees, and he's realized, wow, if I'm on my phone right before bed, I don't sleep as well. And so we can help encourage them. In some cases, again, I'm not a big advocate for kids having smartphones young. I think it's terribly detrimental emotionally and psychologically. That's just my personal opinion. But he is responsible with his phone, as now an older teenager. And he recognizes, he's got a lot of autonomy, but he recognizes, if I'm looking at screens at night, it affects my sleep. I don't like having my sleep affected. So we can encourage our kids. And in some cases, we may have to just lay down the law and be like, look, no electronics before, an hour before bed or whatever. So we can help them with, encouraging or taking over some control and be like, you don't get your electronics before bed, allowing them to sleep the amount of time that they really need to sleep. Reminder, as homeschoolers, my friends, we set our own schedules, and you have the power to say you can sleep in. It's okay. And as parents, we need to remember that. But that's a beautiful thing about homeschooling is like we have the power and control to fulfill the needs of our kids. We can give them the sleep that they need. We can allow them the sleep that they need because they're not getting it in the public school system. But the great news is our kids are not in the public school system. They're out of it. And if we decide that, yes, let's have our kids do concurrent enrollment or through the college, or maybe we want to have them go to a class in the high school or whatever, we also can say, look, we're going to make sure that we're going to schedule later classes for the kids so that they can sleep and get what their bodies physically need, because they need that for development. They need that. There's in the article, it talked about the prefrontal lobe and that a sleep deprivation for these kids affects their development. So again, I'll let you read through the articles. I'll post them all in the comments, in the show notes so you can see it. But my friends, give your kids the chance to sleep. Let them sleep. And if you're just starting to homeschool, do not be afraid if they sleep a lot, because for a couple months they will. They will sleep a lot because their spirits and their bodies and their minds and all of them is exhausted. And you can help them be restored by giving them a chance to sleep and giving them what they need, because you're the mom and you can do that. So with that, my friends, let your kids get sleep. That's my whole point of the podcast today. Let your kids get sleep. And note to you, mama, you get some sleep too. And you don't have to wake up at 4:00 in the morning. I just side note, I saw 2 different Instagram homeschool influencers and they were well-intending, but they are young moms who have younger kids, right? Kids in elementary school. And these moms are like, I wake up at 4:00 in the morning and then I exercise and I do all of these things. Now, I'm a proponent of exercise too. I do wake up at 5 most days. There's some days when it was a rough night, I won't wake up at 5 because I recognize that I need sleep. But I give you permission, moms, that you don't have to wake up at 4:00 in the morning. Okay? Get your sleep. Exercise is important, and so is sleep. But I cease to function without sleep. So moms, make sure you are getting sleep. Oh, another one of the things that the study says is letting your kids take afternoon naps if they need them. And moms, if you are able, now some of you are not able because you've got really little kids and afternoon naps may not be a possibility for you, but if you can find or take a cat nap even, you also need sleep. So that is what I have to say to you today. You get sleep. Let your kids get the sleep that they need. Encourage them. Take away their devices at night, or encourage them to not have their devices if they're older teens, have their devices right before bedtime. But you guys get some sleep. In the meantime, mama, know that you are doing a great job. You're doing better than you think you are. Until next week, you got this, mamas. Talk to you later. If you enjoyed this today, please like and subscribe. You could also join our private Facebook group at School to Homeschool, or sign up for our newsletter at www.schooltohomeschool. Have a great day.